Hello, I'm Hannah Absalom,
And I'm Alex Absalom.
and we are here in Long Beach, California, where we have started a network of home churches called the Dandelion Project. And out of that, we have developed a whole load of values and practices from those values. And we're going through some of those for this blog. So, the one we're looking at today is why we need to eat, drink, and party with those people outside our household. Mm-hmm. So, Alex, why? Why do we need to have fun and eat, drink, and party with all sorts of people?
A few different reasons. So one is Jesus does it. So there's a reason he's called a glutton and a drunkard. That's one of the accusations against him, because he was hanging out with people far from God, parties, eating, drinking. There's lots of gospel stories of him doing that as well. So it's Jesus' example. Secondly, what it does is it's a context where relationships can naturally and organically form. So there's nothing like sitting over a cup of tea or a drink with an individual or another family or a wider group of people, and that builds relationships, which builds community. And as we all know, people are hungry for community in our culture today, so it's a great way to do that. The third reason I'd say is it's easy to do. So it's a great way for each of us and those we lead to get into the game of being on mission. Start with throwing parties, having fun together. And then the fourth thing I'd say it does is it's a great way to test out how open people are to spiritual things. Because in the context of eating, drinking, party, we'll talk about what we mean by party. But in the context of that, people can open up, have conversations with you, and you get to test the waters for where they're at spiritually.
And just as an aside, having grown up in a family that does this or did this all the time, and then our kids are growing up in this environment, it is fun for the kids to be part of. So much fun, and it trains them in so many different ways, and it helps them in terms of giving them exposure to all sorts of people coming through your doors. So from that point of view, very healthy too.
Really good.
Little aside. So what does it practically look like? Does it mean we have to be having every single meal with all these different people?
No. I think what it looks like is it might be a drink. Meet up someone at a coffee shop or in a bar or whatever. It might be inviting a family around for a meal. It could be simply taking a cup of coffee to one of your colleagues at work and choosing to linger at their desk. So I think it's a lot of it's going to be simply using things that you already do. You want to have a drink, so why not sometimes do that in a social way, intentional way? We eat 21 meals or something like that a week. So perhaps take a few of those and intentionally invite other people into that to share that with you. If you are out in the workplace, you probably have lunch in that environment every day, so use that more intentionally. Open up your home. So I think there's that, and then there's also the whole thing of parties. I don't know if you want to speak into that a bit.
Yeah, I mean, we love to host, so we often have stuff going on. So this Sunday we're having a big Super Bowl party with lots of neighbours, but we use lots of excuses to get people over. But yes, we've also done it. So in Oklahoma, I remember we did a birthday party for Jesus, which went down very well with lots of young families, with party games, and people bought gifts for the local homeless shelter. I'm trying to think what else.
Well, we've done cocktail parties on the front lawn on a Friday night. We've done ice cream parties. We do pumpkin carving parties. We do Christmas party this year. We've done 4th of July, which is kind of counterintuitive for Brits to do that, but we did it as good missionaries. Redeem the date, all the rest of it.
Also spontaneous stuff. So sometimes if we've seen friends and we know they're free, or neighbours or whatever, just totally. Say, hey, come over. And that's where the front yard thing is really easy, because basically we just take whatever we're drinking out there, say, look, bring something, or can I get you a cup of tea or a glass of wine or whatever.
Yeah. So I think, like Hannah says, sometimes it's going to be just a spontaneous thing, or someone comes to mind and you might text them and say, hey, what are you doing tonight, or Saturday evening, do you want to come by? And so I think the idea of party is we can get a bit hung up on that. I think people could feel like there's got to be some enormous production, and it might be you love to do enormous productions, great. But for most of us, it's going to be more of a sense of we just do something that's quite easy,
low key, lightweight,
Yep.
No hassle.
Yeah, or maybe a bit of effort, but not too bad. Like even with, say, Super Bowl party, you mentioned that. We're not going to give everyone food. We're saying, hey, bring a side or a drink, come join in the fun. and obviously we'll tidy the house and get a few things in, but it's
Vaguely.
but it's but it's not like some epic 3-day process to prepare the house.
No, that would be a
in doing
nightmare.
that. So that's lightweight. Yeah, so I think like that.
So we both enjoy this because we're both extroverts. But if you're an introvert, this probably sounds like an absolute nightmare. So is this just for extroverts?
So I would say absolutely not. This is for all of us, extroverts and introverts. So again, recognize the Lord has made you your personality. And obviously we keep maturing in it, but if you're fundamentally he's made you an introvert, you should he can work through that and you should honor that. So so for instance, for an extrovert, the idea of 30 people around the house might sound amazing. Maybe if you're more introverted, perhaps you get 4, 5, 6 people and you're playing Settlers of Catan for 5 hours on a Friday night. You can do things in a way which still play to your strengths, but you're looking outwards and you're embracing people. I think one of the ways to think about this is, and we were talking about this earlier, is I think extroverts bring a strength and introverts bring a strength, and we need to learn from the other ones. So what extroverts do really well is they go broad and they throw the net wide. And so I think the discipline for introverts is not to get stuck with your little small group, is to keep throwing the net wide, and that's the stretch and growth point for you. But by contrast, what introverts do really well is they go deep, and that they'll drill down into relationships and mine perhaps the hidden depths that are there. And so the discipline for an extrovert to learn from an introvert is to not just get distracted by the newest shiny object, or look, there's someone over your shoulder. I'm talking to you and I look over your shoulder and see someone new and, I'm off to them now. And I watch people do that at events. And it's awful. But so for an extrovert, you have to have the discipline of staying in that moment with that person and going deeper, and maybe foregoing the bright shiny thing over there.
And for all of us, we've learnt this thing of, in terms of conversation. So you start with a casual conversation, you know, how's your week been? You know, oh, I love what you're wearing, whatever it is. And then you go to the meaningful conversation. So somebody just goes to that little bit below the surface of saying, actually, it's been a terrible week. And then once people have gone to the meaningful, the next stage is people go to the spiritual. And again, that's where you see, is this a person of peace? Are they spiritually open or not? So are they happy to go to the spiritual? So you might say, well, yeah, I've found that in those tough seasons, I just, you know, people praying for me just provides such comfort and makes a difference. And then once you've done the spiritual, then hopefully you get the opportunity to actually share the gospel with other people.
Yeah, so I think that's a great way of summarising it. So if I'm hearing it, you know, we have casual conversations, we have meaningful conversations, we're looking for spiritual conversations, and then, God willing, gospel conversations. And I think as people come to faith, we're looking for accountable conversations as well. So there's different types of conversation we have, and you're not going to go from 0 to 5 straight off, but at the same time, it's like always just being open to, you know, where's the next step in this conversation.
And you're not going to get there with everybody either. But...
Correct. Some people are just deeply shallow.
Okay, so you're doing, you know, you're getting together with all these different people. So what's the whole aim? Is it just to connect with them, or why are we doing this?
So we're connecting with people, we're loving people, we're building relationships. That's just fun. Get to know your neighbours, get to know people around you in the workplace, on the sports team, whatever it is. So we're doing it for the love of people. But I think more significantly, as missionaries, what we're doing is we're prayerfully in those relationships, we're looking for the people who are our people of peace, the people who are open to how Jesus looks in me or looks in Hannah. And there's going to be some people that really connects with, and there's going to be others it doesn't. So it's who are the ones who are spiritually open to how Jesus looks in us. That's who we're particularly looking for, because they're probably the field that is white to harvest around us. And now it's going to look slightly different for you, but all of us have those people in our lives. So we're looking for the ones, to put it another way, the people who are, the Lord has gone ahead already and he's prepared them, and their hearts have some level of spiritual openness. And that's who we're particularly looking for. And one of the things we do with that, which we talked about on a previous video, is we use that tool of saying, can I pray for you?
Absolutely. And that, again, tells you who is open and who is not. But I mean, most people Love that. As we've said before, almost no one says no. So we always want to end with a sort of a homework or a question or whatever. And what we'd like to leave with today is to say maybe you could think about, say, 3 times a week, having some sort of interaction, meal, drink, contact with 3 people outside, or 3 different times outside of your immediate community. And maybe 2 of those could be non-Christians. So it might be super simple, like taking a drink to a co-worker, or it might be having people for a meal. It doesn't have to be full on, because too much of that is often overwhelming. But yeah, what 3 times could you do that this week?
So that's a good challenge. Get into the discipline of it. I'd encourage you to talk about it with your family or your housemates, and together perhaps try and make some practices and agree to do it like that. So hope that's useful for you, and we would love to hear comments, feedback. If you're watching this anywhere else, please go to our website, dandelionresourcing.com, and click on the comments section below, and we will interact with you there. And we look forward to hearing how you are using drinks and meals and parties to extend God's kingdom.